Welcome to part 3 of the video on the pre-trip inspection for getting your school bus endorsement on your license in the state of Georgia. Like I stated in my previous 2 videos, this is for information only. We use a 2015 Bluebird bus where I work at, so counties may vary on what kind of bus you use. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to open the door. First thing we're going to do is we're going to check the stairwell. Make sure there's nothing sticking up, there's no tripping hazards in the stairwell. Then we'll look at our stairwell light cover, make sure it's not cracked, damaged, broken, or missing. And our safety handrails, we're going to give them a shake to make sure it's secure into place. And none of the screws are missing. As you hop up on the bus, we are going to turn around. And we're going to check to make sure we have our body fluid kit and our first aid kit. Next we're going to look down at our fire extinguisher. Make sure it's secured in place. Make sure the pin is not missing. The inspection tag is up to date. And we have a pressure gauge in there to make sure the arrow is in the green. Next we're going to give our seat a shake to make sure that it's secure to the floor. We want to check our seat belt buckle, make sure that the belt here is not cut, frayed, or damaged, and it's secure to the floor. And it's also secure to the buckle on the seat. Make sure that it's secure and not loose. Next, we're going to go ahead and check our seat belt. Pull this bad boy all the way out. Make sure it retracts back in. We're going to look for any cuts, frays, or damages to the seat belt. At this time, I will flip the emergency exit release to close the door. I'm going to go ahead and turn the bus on. Now as we go down, we're going to check our seats. Using both hands as you go down, you're going to do the push and pull to make sure that it's secure here. On the first seat, I'm going to do push, pull, and lift. Push, pull, and lift. Then what I would like that's to make sure that the seats and the cushions are secure. And I would continue doing that on the rest of the way down the bus. As I walk down the aisle, make sure there's no tripping hazard in the aisle. I'm going to check for any holes in the floorboard. Make sure we don't have any holes in the floorboard. I'm going to do that, checking all the way in the back. Once we get to the back of the bus, make sure our box is there with our emergency reflective triangles. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up the door on the inside. Make sure the door opens and that the alarm sounds. Door opens up. Alarm sounds. Door closes. Alarm turns off. Next, we're going to check our emergency exit window. We're going to make sure that it opens up and the alarm sounds for that as well. Windows opens up, alarm sounds, close it, and lock it back into place. I would tell that we have 4 of these windows all together, 2 in the back and 2 in the front. And I would do the same for all 4. Next, we'll check our emergency roof hatch exit. So first things first, I'm going to pop it open. Check the rubber seal. Make sure it's not cracked, damaged, or missing. Then we're going to check to make sure our hatch opens up and the alarm sounds. So, take our knob here, turn it from latched to exit. Just acts like a button. And then the alarm sounds. Now we gotta make sure that the plastic piece right here slides in between. Come on. And you'll hear it click as you work it back into place. Sorry, that requires two hands, otherwise I would have shown it. Then we're going to go from to exit to latched again. And we're going to go ahead and close the hatch. I would inform the instructor that there's two of these. There's one in the back and one in the front. And I would do the same for both. Now, let's walk back up. We're going to check our interior light covers. And we're going to check our speakers. Make sure that the ones are not cracked, damaged, broken, or missing. And that the speakers are secure into place and they're not hanging out, hanging, dangling, or any wires exposed. Now at this point, I would go to the front of the bus. I would take my seat. First things first. Always put on your seatbelt. If you're not safe yourself, how are you going to help students out in case there's an emergency? Alright. Now as I sit here, I'm going to check my steering wheel. I'm going to shake it back and forth. Make sure I have no more than 1 inch of play and a 20-inch steering wheel. Next I will go ahead and I'll check the horn. Horn works. And next I'll check my turn signals. So I will do left, showing it's blinking on the left, showing in my crossing mirror, and it's showing on my light monitor. Go for the right, showing my turn signals working, shows it working outside, and it shows it working on the light monitor. Next I'll go ahead and I will do my hazards. My hazards are working. They're showing in the crossing mirrors. And they are showing on my light monitor. Next I'll go ahead and I would turn the headlights on the bus. Now next I will check the windshield washer fluid and wipers. So I push it in. Make sure everything turns on. Looks like the pump's not working, so I'd make a mention that my windshield wiper fluid pump is not working. Now the headlight's on. You're going to verify they're on in the crossing mirror. You're going to turn on your high beam. You'll see them change over. And you're going to verify that they're on your dash. And next we're going to go over and we're going to check to make sure that our mirrors are positioned in the way that we need them to be able to see. And for your rear view mirrors, we're going to make sure that we adjust it. We do it with these knobs. Driver side, door side, top and bottom. Next we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up our service door, see if it opens up. We flip this switch up. Door opens up and my steering light turns on. We push the button back down again. Door fully closes. Steering light turns off. Next we're going to go ahead and we're going to check our interior lights. So here we go. So the dome light works. Door side. Driver side. And the last two back one work. And while we're looking at the mirror here, we're going to make sure that our rear view mirror, we have it adjusted so we can see from the first seat all the way back and out the back of the bus. Now we're going to go down and we're going to check our warning lights to make sure that they work, our ambers and our stop. So we'll go ahead and do the warning light start. We flip that up. Starts blinking there, showing it's working. Look in the crosser mirrors. You'll see them blinking on the front. And then you're going to go up and you're going to check and make sure they're working on your light monitor. Next, make sure our stop lights work. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the door. So the red light comes on there. Our door opens up. Our stairwell light comes on. You'll see in the crossing mirror. I can do this too like that. You'll make sure that your crossing arm's extended. Check to make sure the red lights are flashing in your crossing mirror. You're going to check back here for your stop sign. Make sure that the lights are flashing and the sign's extended. And then we're going to look at the stop lights up top and make sure that they are working up top. Next, we're going to go ahead and close the door. The door fully closes. The stairwell light turns off. The crossing arm is retracting. Do not see the red lights flashing in the crossing mirrors. Red lights are not flashing on the light monitor, and the stop sign has retracted and the lights are turned off. Next, we're going to go down. We're going to make sure that our strobe light is on, so push this forward to make sure it's on. This is the driver fan. We're going to push this forward to make sure it works. And our driver fan works. Next, we're going to check the bus driver's defrost for the windows. So I'm going to turn this knob. Here the fans are working. And next, we're going to check to make sure that our heater fans and heater pump for inside the bus work. So we'll flip the switch for the heater pump. I don't know if you can hear it, but you'll hear a little bit of a whirring, so that makes you know the heater pump's working. I'm going to check one fan for the back. I hear it running in the back. Flip the next one. Hear it running in the back. And this last one right here is for the stairwell. And the stairwell is working. All right. There we go. Now next, and this part's important, we're going to perform our air brake check. You must get a 100% on the air brake check, or it's an automatic fail. All right, here we go. So on the bottom here in the service brake, I'm going to push this all the way in. I'm going to release my parking brake. Make sure the bus is in neutral. I'm going to roll it back on the choke so it's sitting on the choke. First thing we're going to do is we're going to press on the service brake and we're going to hold it. We are checking for any air leaks in the lines. Push that down. We're going to wait till our air gauges settle. We're going to hold it here for exactly 1 minute. And if the gauges drop more than 3 psi in 1 minute, that indicate that we have a leak. You may make it wait a minute, or you just basically wait till he says okay. And you release the brake. Next, we're going to check our low air pressure lights and alarms. Those will come on between 60 and 70 psi in the tanks. And if this was to happen while you're driving down the road, you would find a safe place to pull over and notify the shop where you are and that you have a leak. So we're going to start fanning the service brakes. That's one side. That's the other side. That's between, it came on at 60 psi on both of them. And showing that now the lights, alarms and lights are working. And next, we're going to make sure that our emergency parking brake sets. That's if you happen to have rapid air loss, the parking brake makes sure the bus stops and it's not just on a runaway. So what we're going to do is we're going to fan the brakes down again. The parking brake shall pop between 20 and 30 psi. Parking brake has popped, and it shows the parking brake. It's going to focus better for you. The parking light has come on. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to crank the bus to refill our air tanks back to normal operating pressures. which is between 90 and 120 psi. Okay. Sorry. There we go. I think I let go of the key a little too early. Now you let the instructor know that while everything, the air compressors are refilling again, the air tanks, you're going to continue on with your light check and your instrument panel check. So what you're going to do is you're going to look up here. You're going to let him know that your tail lights are on and they are working correctly. You're going to press the service brakes to show the brake lights are working, which they are. Now make sure your window's open on the driver's side. You're going to take the bus and you're going to put it in reverse. You're going to make sure their backup lights come on and then you hear the backup alarm. Put it back in neutral. And go ahead and release the brakes. Then we're going to check our dashboard. Make sure our speedometer is working correctly. We're not moving, so that's working correctly. We'll check our temperature gauge. It's moving up slightly, so it shows it's working correctly. We're going to check our air pressure gauges. We see that the gauges are moving up, showing that they are working correctly. And next we're going to go ahead and check our fuel level. Our gauge shows us that we're just above a half a tank of fuel. Now if I was going to start a route, I'm going to have no less than 1/2 a tank of fuel to start my route. If I was under a half a tank, I would add more fuel. The tachometer here, engine is running, showing that the engine is running, so it's working correctly. Well, and then we're going to check the oil pressure gauge. The engine is running, so we're showing pressure in the gauge is working correctly. Next, we're going to check our digital display. We're going to make sure that the odometer reading is displayed as shown, which it is. And up top here, we're going to show us what gear we're in. This is we're in neutral. We're in neutral, so that is working correctly. It's going to show the voltage output, which is 13.8 volts, which is showing that's working correctly. Transmission is at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, showing that the temperature gauge is working on the transmission fluid, on the transmission. Time says here is 10:33 in the morning, showing the time is correct. And our DEF level is at 48%. If our DEF level is at 17% or lower, we would add more. Now that sorry, it's a lot of focus, guys. Now we're at our normal air pressure range between 90 and 120 psi. Pressure just kicked off there. We're going to continue on with the air brake check. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and press the service brake, release the parking brake. I'm going to back off there because I almost missed something. I'm sorry, guys. The last thing we got to check on our digital display is to make sure our message board correctly displays. So I'm going to go out of sequence to show the range inhibitor. So I'm not going to press the brakes, and I'm going to put it in drive. It shows that the range has been inhibited because I went out of sequence, and so our message board is working correctly. And the horn's still working correctly. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and continue on with our air brake check. So what we're going to do is pressing the service brake, pushing the parking brake, and we're going to put it in drive. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll the bus forward, then we're going to apply the service brakes. We're going to make sure that the service brakes apply evenly and it does not pull to one side or the other when we're applying the brakes. So we go ahead and go forward. The brakes. Brakes have applied evenly. The bus did not pull to one side or the other. Now we're going to go ahead and check our parking brake for the same thing. We're going to make sure that it applies evenly and the bus doesn't pull to one side or the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the bus roll forward, pull the parking brake. Make sure we put the bus back in neutral. And then this is when we inform our instructor that we have now completed the air brake check and that I'm ready for my driving test. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful day.